Three, two, one. Good evening. My guest tonight, joining me from Los Angeles, California, is an author, a speaker, and an acclaimed actress, Nancy Stafford. Nancy, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Michael. It's such a joy to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And I've got to tell you, I grew up watching Matlock. And so this is, out of all the people that I've been privileged to interview, this is a highlight for me. So thank you for being
Oh,
on the program.
you're so sweet, and nothing makes me happier than to hear those words. However, I will tell you a funny story. One time I was speaking at a women's conference, and at the very end, all the ladies were coming up for prayer and all of that. And this little lady, way in the back of the room, silver hair, beautiful lady on her walker, she waited and waited and rolled up to me in the last end of the row. And then she said, "Oh, I grew up watching you on Matlock." So when you say it, I don't mind. But
Thank you.
it
Thank
was
you.
very sweet that she said that. It makes me very happy. Then I thank the
Well,
Lord for reruns.
yes, and it's still on. You
Yeah.
can watch it on Amazon, I think. But you played five seasons. You were the co-star
hmm
to the legendary Andy Griffith on Matlock. How did you get the role, and what was it like to work with a national treasure like Andy?
Oh my gosh, I still pinch myself. He's an American icon, and he is indeed a national treasure. You named him aptly. Um, I was actually. It's only a God story. I had come back. I'll try to make it brief, but it's such a God thing. I had been a prodigal for many years. I grew up in the faith, came, then I walked away and had a very radical conversion again, and came back from that situation and just said, Lord, give me work I can be proud of. I only want to do work that's wholesome and glorifying to you. So I was doing a series, and that ended. And then everything that seemed to be offered to me at the time was just awful, awful, awful stuff. It's pressing the envelope as far as Hollywood could do it, which they are very good at doing. And finally, I got a wonderful TV series, short lived. We only lasted one season for Disney on ABC called Sidekicks. And I was the co star of that show with Gil Gerard and Eddie Reyes Jr. And a sweet, sweet family show. I worked every single episode except one. One episode, I just didn't happen to be in the script. So I thought, okay, that's great. I'll take a few days off. Well, my agent called, and that very week, I was offered a role on this new show called Matlock. It was in its first season. And at that time, the wonderful Linda Pearl was
Yeah.
playing Andy Griffith's daughter. And so I came in, I read the script. First of all, I had him send me the script. I read it, and I was crestfallen because the role was to play a high class call girl who
Uh,
perjures herself on the witness stand and frames somebody for murder. Not a good person.
mhm.
But as I read it, I then called my pastor, I called my prayer warriors, and I just said, please pray with me. What do I do? I felt so strongly that the Lord was saying, I want you to do this role. But on the surface, on the face of it, it seemed to fly in the face of anything I would want to portray. But the more we prayed about it, it became very evident and clear that yes, you're to do this role. Because I also knew that in my hands, as opposed to another actor, maybe, I could show the brokenness of this woman. I didn't have to glorify this profession of hers, but I could just show her brokenness and pain. So I did the episode. Andy and I got along great, had a wonderful time. Little did I know that just a few months later, my series for Disney and ABC got canceled. And Linda Pearl decided to not come back the next year on Matlock. Suddenly, there's an opening for his new law partner.
Wow.
And it was really because of that experience I'd had with him prior to that, that I was on the first on their mind, and I got to do the role. So for 5 years, I played Andy's law partner, Michelle Thomas. So that's how I
Yeah,
got the part.
that's incredible. And was he everything that we would hope he was,
And more,
and
and
more?
more. He was, what's surprising, people may not always know, because what you see from Andy Taylor, from the original Andy Griffith show, to Matlock, you see these good old boys that are just, everything looks like you just walk in and you just say it, you just do it and make it easy.
Yeah.
And he was fabulous at making it look easy. But he was a consummate professional. And he set a bar. Every TV show, and I've done 6 of them as a series regular, every show, the bar is set, the tone of the show, the level that you rise to is always set by the lead of the show. And Andy set a great bar. And so all of us really had to rise to the occasion. And he didn't suffer fools well. So if you were ready and a professional, he laughed. It was like a party every day. We laughed and we had a great time. But when it was ready to work, we worked. And I think that's such a great work ethic for all of us to have, whatever our profession.
Yes.
We play hard, we laugh, we enjoy life. And then when it's time to get down to it, you get down to it. And some of the most remarkable things that I think viewers always are interested in hearing about is that, that courtroom scene, the famous courtroom scene that was in every episode.
Yes.
Those who are not so familiar with the show, Andy played a very, very sly as a fox defense attorney. And we shot 8 days. And of the first 5 or 6 days, it was all the story itself. And then we spent 2 solid days in the courtroom. And every episode culminated with the courtroom scene, where he always got his client off. I mean, they were always not guilty. So these are long scenes, and especially the summation speech at the very end, which goes pages and pages and pages and pages of dialogue. Well, Andy always memorized it as a monologue, just so he could just keep on it. And I am not kidding, Michael. I don't think I remember one week where when he finished, he would generally do it in 1 or 2 takes at the most, and he nailed it. That's it. He got it, and got a standing ovation every single time. The crew, the cast, people in the jury box. Whenever he did that summation speech, it was spot on, and we moved on. So what could have taken about a half a day, because of Andy's artistry and his excellence, we got it done in a few hours.
That's incredible.
So it was great. And plus, we had fun. He loved to play his guitar or one of his instruments. He'd always bring it by. And one of my fondest memories of the show is that my husband, who has been a pastor and a worship musician all of our married life, in various places and capacities. But my husband's a wonderful musician, and he plays a mandolin and fiddle and every stringed and cello. But every now and then, when it was a little bit slow on set, Andy would sidle up to me and he'd go, "Hey, why don't you call Larry and have him bring down his fiddle or bring his mandolin over?" And I did, and Larry did. And then the guys would just jam for a little while and do old hymns and really have a great time. So it was great fun.
That's incredible. What a incredible God thing that you're able to be a part of for so many years, and people still enjoy it and watch it, and it's wonderful.
They do. Now, I'm so great.
Before you were an actor, you were Miss Florida in 1976, and then that afforded you the opportunity to be a competitor at the 1977 Miss America pageant. And we were talking just a moment ago a little bit about Hollywood. Hollywood propagates a unrealistic expectation of what, particularly women, but women and men, that we should look a certain way, that we should act a certain way. And these are all really the antithesis of how God views all of us. Starting out, did you feel the pressure to conform to a certain image?
You know, I will admit to you, I feel very blessed because I didn't. And I'll tell you why. The only reason why is because this was such a new world for me. I did not grow up being groomed as a little girl or a young woman. This was my first pageant. I had been, and I was in homecoming queen. I think I was up. My sorority put me up in college for homecoming queen, but everybody gets put up for homecoming queen. It wasn't about that. So this was my first experience, and I honestly entered it for the scholarship. I know that may sound, people would go, yeah, right. But I did. I needed to get the scholarship money to complete. I wanted to go back to grad school. So I won my local Miss Fort Lauderdale pageant and then Miss Florida. But my local, I won literally they had to tell me to put lipstick on. And I had little, Maybelline blush. That's all I had, and a homemade little dress. Then they kind of took me under their wing and took me to a professional makeup artist. Gave me a little bit more makeup and a nicer dress to do Miss Florida. And then on to Miss America, which I landed somewhere in the bottom 49. I don't know where, but I loved every second of it, and I didn't feel it. But I'll tell you, Michael, where I did begin to feel it was after the pageant life ended that year. I came back to South Florida, where I grew up, and I took a career. I started my career as a journalist in public relations and marketing and journalism. And I worked for several years in that market doing what I was trained to do. That was my first career. And I got just drafted by an agent who called me one day from Miami and said, this is Nancy Stafford. And she said, I think, would you please come down and just audition for some commercials? And it happened to be the Screen Actors Guild strike, which is our actors union, the professionals.
Yes.
None of the professionals could work. So I got kind of shuttled right in there when I wasn't competing with pros that knew what they were doing. So I ended up getting right out of the bat. I got like 6 or 8. I had 5 auditions in a week, and I got all 5 commercials, big national commercials. And I didn't know better. I thought, oh, that's how it always works. You just audition and that means you get it.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't. But once I got into that world and started phasing out of my prior career as a writer and as a PR person and started doing more and more commercials and then modeling, then I began to feel the pressure of, oh my gosh, this is what's expected. This is how you compete. This is the only way you're going to grow and become anything in this world. And it's a terrible pressure. And so much so. And then when I got into television as an actor, I was certainly surrounded by it, and I saw it, and it was very difficult to not succumb. And I know I did. I was on a diet for like 20 years just to try to keep, your weight looking a certain way because of camera. And who was it? Was it Betty Davis or somebody funny who said, I've heard that TV cameras put 10 pounds on you, so I make it a habit not to eat TV cameras. Never to eat them. But it's that whole world of false perception and our worth being based on appearances. I saw what it did to people around me. I saw my own self-worth. You audition this business that I happened to choose. Like so many in the arts, but certainly television, and for women in particular, so much of it's based on looks, and so much of it has zero to do with us. When I go out and share and talk to and teach students, film students, acting students, one of the first things I try to tell them is try to resist the feeling of rejection. This is a rejection-prone industry. If you've got too thin a skin and if you can't handle rejection, you're not going to be able to do this business, because 99% of the time when you get rejected for something, it really has nothing to do with you or your performance. You may look too much like another actress that they've already hired, or some the director, you look too much like his ex-wife's sister who he couldn't stand. So, I mean, or
Yeah.
you're tall, too tall. I'm tall. So I ran into a lot of I'm too tall for the leading man idea. So, and that really the whole, when I saw the pain that it evokes, and when I saw the hoops certain actors and actresses go through to try to to be marketable, um, but then it spills out into the real world too, because we're then responsible. I think have to put it on our own shoulders. I'm part of a
Yeah.
media that perpetuates an image to the world, saying this is what is worthy.
Mm.
This is what you need to be accepted. And it's part of what, Michael, propelled me to write my first book. Part of it is because I received such incredible healing of my own deep sense of unworthiness and
Mhm.
inadequacy that was not only based on the industry and appearance, although that was a big part of it, but I had a fabulous family, wonderful parents who always affirmed me constantly.
Yeah.
But there was just something inside of me that never felt like I was enough.
Mm.
And so when the
Well,
Lord began to crack that open and heal me, it was the word. It's replacing all the lies that
mm.
men believe, women believe, and it has to do with I'm not pretty enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
I've used up my quotient of mercy. God doesn't want anything to do with me. I'm too far gone. Um, I'm not smart enough.
Mm.
I'm not clever enough. There's so many ways that we just heap on ourselves this feeling of we have zero value and zero worth. And so when God began to heal me, it then released me to be able to share some of those truths with other people and see them really set free.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful and powerful. And along the same lines, what were some steps, and what are some steps for those who are watching that perhaps are struggling with insecurity and it's a coming to the pressure? What were some steps that you took and that we can take to identify those lies that we believe and the behaviors that we've adopted that keep us
Mm,
from living as Christ sees us?
yeah. And you just hit it. It's one thing to just believe the lies, but then we adopt behaviors to protect ourselves and to
Yeah.
keep us from feeling the hurt and the pain. And so I really want to encourage here as we are kind of beginning a new year, even. This is a time where we can just sit before the Lord and say, okay, Lord, what is it about myself that is true?
Mm.
Because some of the lies actually are some of the things that we think are lies are actually true. Maybe
Hmm.
I am a little lazy. Maybe
Mm.
I haven't uh, progressed in my career because I'm not willing to do what I have to do to get the education I need or to do the work I need to do or to get myself emotionally, mentally, physically in shape to do certain things.
Hmm.
What's true? Help me parse out what is true. What can I change to do the thing that I desire and that
Yeah.
I believe you put in my heart to want to do and to achieve and to be? But then what's a lie?
Mm.
And for some people, the first one, just what do I need to do to change, will be transformative for them. But for others, and they may be more like me, where I was looking at things that were not realistic, that I had um, um,
Nancy.
scriptures to dispel every single one of those lies. And I mean, I want to encourage people to get into the word, because the word is the truth, and the truth will set you free. And the truth is the light, and darkness cannot live in the light. So, for instance, how can we feel inadequate, unworthy, less than, when the King of the universe calls you his elect? You're his
Yeah.
chosen. He says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Nothing can separate you from my love. You're adopted into my inheritance. You're a joint heir with Christ. I will love you freely. And when those verses began to fly off the page and I allowed them to sink into my heart, I began to feel like it doesn't matter what the world thinks of me. It's my Father's opinion that matters. And it
Yeah.
really changed me. But we've got to do it because we fall so easily back into habit.
Yeah.
And self-perception's a habit. You know, I
Mm.
still find myself even having to guard my mouth. I'll say, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I'm so stupid. And I go, wait a minute. No, I'm not. No, I have the
Yeah.
mind of Christ. So we have
Yeah.
to talk to ourselves. We have to preach to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's what we really need to do.
Do you find it to be true that what people really are looking for in others and in themselves is authenticity?
Yes,
And that's really what it boils
absolutely.
down to, right?
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's something about when you meet someone who's authentic and transparent,
Hmm.
and that allows us to take down our guard, and we breathe a sigh of relief and we go, oh my gosh, I don't have to pretend anymore either.
Mm.
This is me, warts and all. This is my ugliness that I have. I
Yeah.
still struggle with the covetousness or the still jealousy or my competitiveness. And when we come up against somebody who's authentic and real and isn't afraid and doesn't have to be perfect all the time,
Yeah.
and lets us be transparent and not perfect all the time, what a gift. And then
Yeah.
that's part of iron sharpening iron too, don't you think?
Yes,
We
I
help
agree.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Transitioning here just a moment, you spoke a little while ago about your husband, Larry, who is a pastor, worship leader. How did the two of you meet?
Oh, he hates when I tell the story, but he's not here. So,
Okay.
um, first of all, my husband Larry Myers has is an amazing musician, and he is just a remarkable man who is a man with no guile. He is just sweet, unassuming, very, very kind of shy. And we met in Marina Del Rey, which, for those of you who may not realize, in Southern California is the singles capital of the world.
Hmm.
And I happened to be living in Marina Del Rey at the time. And he was living on a sailboat in Marina Del Rey at the time. And here I meet this godly man. And it was in the middle of a coffee shop, like an espresso shop before Starbucks ever existed. Um, I met him at this little coffee shop. He was holding a paper, reading a newspaper. He lowered the paper, and I just saw these beautiful hazel eyes. He's handsome, but not like stop me in my tracks kind of, oh, but
Yeah.
something in him. It was the Lord in him that I saw.
Mm.
And I went, literally, intake of breath. I went, and I was so embarrassed. And he said, hi. And I went, hi. And I quickly turned the other way and darted out the coffee shop to mail my letters. And when I came back, he said he had been praying, Lord, I come here every morning at this time. I've never seen this young woman before. I may never see her again. Lord, if she comes back, would you, Holy Spirit, give me something to say to her? Well, I did come back. And this is what the Holy Spirit gave him to say to me. With all innocence, you know, if I were to see you at a party, I would just have to get to know you, which was
Yeah.
such a lovely thing to say. But my heart sank because I thought, oh, he's a marina guy. I'm looking for the gold chains and I'm looking outside, which is your Ferrari out there. You know, I'm thinking, oh no, he's one of those guys. Well, he wasn't. So every day for the next 2 weeks, we ran into each other somewhere in Marina Del Rey. And each time we'd say just a little more, because never imagined the other could be a believer. So we'd like, hi, and then hi, how are you? And finally we exchanged names. And at the gym, he came out of an aerobics class with 100 women and him and Larry. They're all going, bye, Larry, bye, bye. And I'm on my exercise, bye.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he's trouble. But he came over, and we got to chatting, and he glanced down at my Christian psychology book on my bicycle, and he said, oh, you're reading Jay Adams? And I went, how do you know who Jay Adams is? And he said, are you a believer? I said, I am. Are you? He says, I'm a pastor. And I look him up and down in his workout clothes. I said, you're a pastor? And turns out that he was pastoring, associate pastor of a church several cities away. But I said, there's one guy I know, only one person I know in that entire city. He happens to be a pastor. Do you know him? And it was his boss.
Wow.
So it's and it took a long time for us. We dated a year and a half. I had just gotten Matlock. No, we met first and then I got Matlock. I was shooting my other show first. But we needed to know what it was like. He ministered to a lot of artists, musicians, and actors in the industry, and he knows
Keith
how
Green.
up and down. Yeah, Keith Green and a bunch of others, and it's not always. They're not the stablest people ever. Not Keith. I'm just talking about people,
Sure.
actors, actresses, people in the industry in general.
Sure.
And he needed to know, what it was going to be like. How emotionally stable am I? How serious about my faith am I? And I needed to know what it was like to be a pastor's wife. So
now, Nancy, we have not only watching the program, but in our church, I have some teenagers and some college students. That is an important question to ask. Are you a believer? Whenever they're right.
Absolutely. That's like the first question.
And if they say no, you run the other way.
Yeah. Which is why for those few, like for the week or two before, whenever we saw each other, we were attracted to one another. But there's no way that we were going to become involved. And it is important to ask it up front and early, because if you just start dating and you decide, oh, let me see if this is going anywhere, and then I'll ask, then you're hooked. And it's too hard to you justify all kinds of things. Oh, well, I'll bring him to church, or no, she really seems to be interested, or oh, please, don't. It's hard. Marriage is hard enough.
Yeah.
And but man, oh man, if you are not on the same page, you are not going to do all that God has called you two together to do as a couple. So
I was just thinking, college students, you have a grandson who is a student at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, he's a freshman. Yep.
Wow.
Blake Tilton. I will tell you his name. He's wonderful, and he loves the Lord, and he's a great student, and he's real involved in campus life, and so yeah, great kid.
Well, Blake, we need to get Blake connected over here at Bethel, and because I have a couple of college girls that I need to introduce him to. You know what I'm saying?
That would be very good, and they'll love Blake. Yeah. He's a cutie pie.
Well, so now, and if you ever come out to visit him, Nancy, I would love for you to come and share at Bethel. Okay.
Thank you. I'd love that. You can count on it. Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful.
Another reason to come to Fayetteville.
to Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas, we would love to have you.
That'd be great.
As we wrap up here today, you've played roles on television shows including Scandal, The Mentalist, Frasier, several movies. You're recognized as the Christmas Queen on the Hallmark Channel for a lot of your Christmas movies. Do you have a favorite character that you've played in your long career?
It's funny. It's usually the one I just finished playing. And actually, I just finished a movie that is, and I love this character too. It's called Paul's Promise, and it's set in the based on a true story set in the late 1960s in the heat of the civil rights movement in Little Rock, Arkansas, in North
Wow.
Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's a fabulous story. And that was a wonderful movie. And that'll be out in about 8 months. But I did a film, probably one of my very favorite roles was to play First Lady, FLOTUS. I played the First Lady of the United States. I was the president's wife in a movie aptly called First Lady. And it's a romantic comedy. It's charming. It's feel good. It's a sweet, fun movie that is not political, though it's set in the world of politics. You'll be very grateful
Sure.
to know it's not political. We don't need that.
We
But
don't
we
need that.
do, no, we need something that'll bring both sides of the aisle together right now. And this
Yeah.
is that movie. Corbin Burnson plays opposite me, who is charming and
Wow.
delightful. And it's really a romantic comedy about a woman who's married to the president. He dies in office. And then I help our vice president in his run for presidency he asked me if I would be his first lady. So I run with him as a non-spousal first lady, and we win.
Wow.
And then a love from my past, Corbin Burnson, who is now a king of a medieval, wonderful country in Europe, knows that I am now available, and he comes over and gives me a very nice offer that I may have a hard time refusing. It's a movie about hope, and I think for all of us, sometimes the feeling of when we think that everything might be over, it may just well be the beginning. So it's called First
That's
Lady, and
wonderful.
it's streaming everywhere. So you can find it. It's on demand and
Check it
streaming.
out. First Lady,
Yeah.
starring Nancy Stafford. Nancy, this has been just a real treat. So thank you for being on the Evening Show Live with us. And
Thank you for having me, Michael. God
prayers
bless
to
you.
you and Larry, and God bless
Thank
you.
you.
Folks, stay with us and be with us next Wednesday night for another exciting episode. My very special guest, world-renowned preacher, Dr. Johnny Hunt. God bless you. Thanks, Nancy, for doing that. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. You make it so easy. I'm sorry I just yak, 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 yak.
No, that was wonderful. That's wonderful. Uh, so, so your grandson's name again was
Blake Tilton,
okay.
Tilton. And your church is Bethel?
Yeah, Bethel Baptist in Bentonville, which is not very far from
Right.
Fayetteville.
It's right
But
there.
we are starting in 2 weeks, the 24th, because we have been doing just online only. But we'll be starting back up. We're going to do. We have a large. We set up on a huge hill and overlooking the busiest street in Bentonville, Walton Boulevard, and
Wow.
we've got this large parking lot, and so we're building a pavilion, and we're going to have people be able to pull in their cars, and we'll pipe in the audio through their radio, and then when it gets a little bit warmer out, we'll have areas for lawn chairs and that, and so we're going to do
Great.
that until we can kind of get through some of this COVID stuff. So.
Is Arkansas buttoned up? You're not allowed to meet inside anymore, or is it just you've got so much distancing you have to accommodate?
There's so much distancing you have to have, and the governor is a strong Christian, and so he's not gonna. He hasn't mandated it, but he strongly recommended, certain things to kind of help with the curbing the cases, because Arkansas has been hit extremely hard. The numbers of death each day go up, and the hospitals are at a break. I know Los Angeles, the hospitals at a breaking point.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I do worry. I mean, Blake is home now in Dallas. His parents just got divorced, sadly, but he's staying with his mom, and his dad's there too, and they're all still very close, which is good. But I guess he came home at Thanksgiving thinking they'd go back, and then the school closed down and said, no, we're going to do everything back online. So I don't know. He's supposed to be leaving this week, so I don't know. But it could well be that all those college students who I know are doing their fraternity stuff unmasked or whatever. He just pledged
Yeah.
his fraternity, and every photo was all these guys partying with no masks on. I think, oh gosh, college, they're
well,
invincible.
well, I do have two really strong Christian ladies that are college students. One of them is at the U of A, so we'll have to connect.
We
He would
will.
he would love meeting her. So
He
and
is
I
going somewhere, and I can't. He's gone a few times because one of his big brother, which he chose wisely. I'm glad his big brother's a believer, and evidently there's quite a few believers in KA. But anyway, he's been to a couple churches. I don't know
cross
where, but
church, cross church, maybe
maybe.
cross church
Let me ask,
is yeah.
cross church what is what?
Cross Church is one of the big churches in our region. They have multiple campuses, so I was wondering if that might be it.
I don't know. I'll ask him. Um, do you happen to know Joe Donaldson?
Joe Donaldson. The
They
name sounds
have
familiar.
his there's oh gosh, what's the name of that furniture store? There's a couple,
Oh yeah,
the family.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. Well, they've become good friends. And how did I meet them initially? I don't remember. Oh, I know. I came out um to meet with a couple. I was working with a grandparenting ministry with Ken Canfield and some other
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And
My
and
King Canfield. My wife went to school with King Canfield's daughter.
which one, Heather? Do you remember?
Uh, I
He
don't
has
re
about four of them, so I don't know
Yeah.
which one, but
Well,
uh
my wife just turned 40, so whichever one is in that range.
yeah.
But that's something.
Wow.
It's a
And
small world.
Ken, your wife may uh want to know this. Ken's wife Dee died last year, or maybe a year and a half ago or so. She had a long bout with Huntington's disease, which is a really terrible, horrific disease.
Yes.
But he has just gotten remarried,
Wow.
and he's married to a woman that has a wonderful ministry. She's a therapist, and she's in Oregon. And so he's moved to Oregon, and they travel a lot. So he's still doing his
Sure.
fathering, the Institute for Fathering, and she's doing a lot of father-daughter stuff in her practice. And so,
Wow.
but I
Wow.
met Joe Donaldson and Laura, his wife, when I was there for their project, doing some things with them. And
Okay.
yeah, they're really good folks. And then they brought me in to do um, a, a foster care gala that I spoke at, just a fundraiser for fostering.
How long ago was that? In the last couple of
Couple,
years, or
2 years maybe. Now, and I was wondering if some of those young people, young families are your friends and are in your church, because I was blown away by the number of young families
yeah,
that have fostered and then adopted 7, 8 kids, these amazing young families, and they're cool and hip people. They're
yeah,
chatted up,
yeah,
they're musicians, and they go all over the world doing ministry stuff. They
yeah,
blew me away.
yeah. This area really is incredible. Well, Walmart being the world headquarters is here. Tyson Foods, JB Hunt, which is a big trucking company.
Yeah,
They bring these people in from all over the world, and it's a melting pot. And it's just
yeah,
absolutely incredible to see the generosity and the the real sense of community that this region has. It's pretty incredible.
that's great.
I say there's Northwest Arkansas, and then there's the rest of the state. Is what I say.
Huh.
Because if you go south of Fayetteville, it's different.
Now,
It's
is Fayetteville your capital a city as well?
no, Little Rock is capital.
Oh, Little Rock's your capital, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you film in Little Rock when you did this new film? No.
No, but we're going to premiere it there at that church. Um, Have you ever heard the church is called, and I only mention it because though it's in North Little Rock, it's somewhat well known. It's called Friendly Chapel.
Friendly
And
Chapel.
Paul Holderfield Sr. was the pastor, and what a story. Just briefly, he was an alcoholic, abusive, racist, bigoted firefighter who in the late 60s who had a radical conversion with God after his mother prayed for him all of her life. And on her deathbed, he finally just said, okay, and came to the Lord and had a radical change. He started a women's shelter. He started an after-school program. He started the first integrated church in the South. And it's still
Wow.
going today. And his son, Paul Jr., is now running that church. And they have remained in the hood there in North Little Rock. They aren't leaving. And they're giving away meals every week. And they're doing so much for the poor and the homeless. And
Wow.
really an
Yeah.
amazing group of people.
Friendly Chapel Church of Nazarene. I just
Yeah.
pulled it up on my phone.
Right.
And is that the premiere is going to be there?
A premiere. I don't know if it'll be the only
Okay.
one, but they really want us to bring it there, and we're aiming for Easter if they can get the editing done and stuff. I mean, and in that movie I have a smaller support role, but I'm so proud of the movie and the story and the impact it can have. And so, and if that's the case, if we come out in Easter, then I'll definitely stay an extra few days and come by and see you and spend some time with Blake. And
I would love that. If it works out, Nancy, to come share your testimony, Easter Sunday would be, or whenever
I
you're
would
here.
not take over your Easter Sunday. I mean, that'd be the worst. I mean, you have something else to do Easter Sunday.
I'd give you a big block of time. We would that would be incredible. We would love to have you though. Anytime you want to come and we'll take you to dinner or have you over to the house and Blake.
That would be great. I'd love him to meet you.
Yes, I would love to meet him, and I'll be praying for him. He'll be on my prayer list. But
thank you.
You've got my cell number on my email there, so feel free to give that to Blake, or if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
You're the best. Thank you so much. This has been a real God thing, I think. Really appreciate you.
It has been. Thank you, Nancy. God bless you.
Thank you. Bless you too. Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye.